It is so affirming to be among a group of women who can be transparent and authentic, and to hear your own secret fears spoken out loud and be able to know, I guess I'm not the only one. I guess that's actually not a fatal flaw in me.
Welcome to Women We Should Know with international speaker, mindset reset mentor, author, and your host, Lesley Michaels. With audacious honesty and candor, the Women We Should Know podcast presents the wisdom and life-empowering insights of women who are the embodiments of innovation and social evolution. Please join Lesley as she shares potent conversations that will inspire your personal and professional evolutions.
Welcome to Women We Should Know, where we consistently focus on bringing you the voice, the ingenuity, the audacity, the creativity of women who are coloring outside of the lines, who are challenging the status quo by refusing to get into boxes that weren't created by them, and who are carving new paths and leaving a light on for others to follow. Now, typically at this point, I would share with you the bio of our guest and I would introduce them. But today, I decided to come on and just have a little conversation with you myself. I've had these things just running around in my head rampantly, sometimes keeping me up at nights. And I thought, well, I'm just going to come on here and share them with you for the purpose of inviting you to comment, to share. Let's start a new conversation. A bigger conversation, a bolder conversation. We are so amazing, and we've fallen into a trap. We've let patriarchal standards pit us against each other. I say it's time to stop. I say, no more. This is the time of the woman. You know, even the Dalai Lama said, the world will be saved by the Western woman. Now, he did also say that, now some are going to call me a feminist for saying this, but then I have always wondered, why would it be bad for the Dalai Lama to be a feminist? Well, we'll have to mull over that a little later. But there are calls going out, I hear them around the country and around the world, for us as women to rise up and take a place in leadership. Now that can be a little boggling. Where do I start? What do I do? I hear those questions, even in my own head. The only thing I can say to that is we start with our own gut. We start with our own heart. We start with those little dreams or big dreams, doesn't matter, that we've been carrying around inside of ourselves with 10 billion excuses of why we haven't gotten to it yet. They typically start with, I don't have time because. COVID kind of helped me out. When COVID hit, I called a friend whose husband is deeply involved in medical research. And I learned that it'd probably be 18 to 24 months. Now, there were all kinds of predictions, but I believed this friend. I trust this friend. And as it turned out, he was right, as is often the case. But what happened at that point was I had to have a sit down and have a talk with myself. I often have a sit down and talk with myself. Okay, Lesley, here you are in this little teeny town that you did not plan to be in, and the world has shut down. You're here, like it or not, here you are, and you're going to be here, let's say for 2 years. What are you going to do with it? So I started going through my old internal sock drawer of all the things that I'd wanted to do that my excuses had gotten in the way. It's one of the ways that I ended up here. We're starting to come out on the other side of it, but what is unique about our emergence is we are not emerging into normal. Normal died, my friends. We all know it. Some of us don't want to say it out loud, but we might as well. Normal died. And we can look at this and be kind of upset about it and worried about it. Or we can look at this like a brilliant opportunity. I am so thrilled the number of women I am speaking to on a regular basis who are adopting the latter perspective. They're going through their internal sock drawers and pulling it all out. And I'm not thrilled just because I'm a third generational feminist who, in my early teens, because I'm a baby boomer, and back then that's how we got around. So I stuck out my thumb and hitchhiked to New York to be part of the women's movement. Yes, I'm thrilled because of that. But more than that, I am thrilled because I was beginning to be concerned about us prior to COVID. We were falling into several dangerous abysses, in my opinion. Racism, sexism, ageism, tokenism, all of these isms it was as if somebody had come along and put some superpowered fertilizer on them. And we were falling into these traps, and it was becoming too easy not to notice. Oh, the things I would hear come out of my mouth. Fortunately, most of the time, I hope it was most of the time, I can't say for sure, I'd catch it. But when I'd catch it, that was the moment of concern. How did I get here? How did I get here where those words could come out of my mouth? Was it something I'd adopted? Or was it something old that had come up just to be recognized? Well, I ultimately decided it didn't matter. The only thing that mattered was it wasn't going to stay. Couldn't have it. So I started looking at my life, this big feminist, living in circles of women life. And the one thing that kept coming back to me is that women are amazing. Women are the living embodiment of resilience. Yes, I am unapologetically in love with the spirit of womanhood. But think about it, women, think about it. What do you do from the minute you wake up to the minute you go to bed? Dry cleaning, plumbers, insurance agents, kids for some of you. Of course, I never had any. Elders, I had plenty of those. And then there's work on top of all of that. We are the embodiment of resilience. And the more I just sat with this truth, the more clear it came to me that we have to find a way to come together. We have been programmed, imprinted, convinced, pick a word, by the patriarchy to be competitive with one another. Now, let me throw in here that when I say patriarchy, I don't mean men. Patriarchy is a system. It was developed by men, and men profited from it. But there are many male feminists, and there are many women who have taken on that patriarchal thinking and are just full of internalized misogyny, let's say. But we've been pitted against each other. Even in the way that there has been seen to be so little real estate in the leadership positions in business, leadership positions in politics. We've been pitted against each other. Well, it's been a very successful marketing campaign. We fell into it hook, line, and sinker. I'm suggesting we spit out the bait. Just to cut to the chase. Or to use my old grandpa's fishing term. It's time to spit it out. Men have long had the secret handshake, the old boys club, and it has profited them well. They have profited each other well. And women have had competition, and it has oppressed us effectively. I'm thinking we should change the rules to the game. That it's time for women to build alliances with each other. No, I'm involved in several women's alliances groups, 3 specifically at this time. And what I am finding is absolutely phenomenal and inspiring. The women involved in these groups are finding themselves feeling more stable and supported because the majority of them are entrepreneurs or solopreneurs or business owners. They are finding that missing piece of support. They're being validated. Because as we come together and we have a topic each time, one or another of the women are always going to speak to how they have seen themselves on the wrong end of whatever that topic is. And as they speak to their imposter syndrome, or their self-doubt, or their hesitation, whatever it is, there are always a few others in the group that say, me too. It is so affirming to be among a group of women who can be transparent and authentic, and to hear your own secret fears spoken out loud and be able to know, oh, guess I'm not the only one. I guess that's actually not a fatal flaw in me. That's just an idea that more people than me carry. As we move through our intentional alliance groups, as we come together politically, that's one group. In terms of business is another group. And then a different type of business group is another. As we come together, what we find is that we have more power than we realized by virtue of coming together. Now, I've spoken with women who say, well, I am not going to come together with women who are working to excel in my same industry. Why not? I do it every day. And what I find is these women and I, are more in support of each other than anyone who is outside of that group. We meet someone who's a potential client, and we realize, oh, this is not quite a fit for me, but you know what? This is a fit for her. And we make that introduction. And those introductions go around the circle and around the circle and around the circle. And all of us are benefiting because not only are our businesses growing in terms of numbers, they're growing in terms of fulfillment. We're finding those people that really fit for us, which means we're able to serve them more fully. Politically, you get together with a group of women who sometimes have disparate beliefs, disparate goals. But you have honest conversations and you find places where you can work together on points where you do have affinity. Now, all of a sudden, your strength builds. You know, I have held it in my awareness and in my opinion, let's say, for a long time, that what is tearing us apart as a country is not the difference between Republican and Democrat and independent and politically agnostic or whatever they want to call themselves. What is tearing us apart is our inability to have communication. to be able to talk about why we have differences without screaming at each other or needing to make each other wrong. And as I continue to be a part of this alliance group that I am so thrilled to be a part of, we still have our differences. There are areas where different members of the group are never going to work on the same project. But we can respectfully stay in our own corners on those projects and come together and work on the things that we have in common. And the volatility diminishes. I like that. I like being able to actually be in a room where, even if it is a virtual room, where I can actually feel and see the volatility diminishing. Because that means there's more space for cooperation. And I happen to be of the opinion, now you can prove me right or wrong, you can agree with me or not. I happen to be of the opinion that women are better suited to this, more naturally suited to this. Now, the reason I believe this, or actually I believed it all along, but one piece of information I came across to substantiate this is this huge study done at one of the major medical centers that established that women have a 70% higher empathy quotient. It's just natural to us. Men have other skills where they are naturally more inclined. This is one of the skills where women are naturally more inclined. How about we start using that? How about we start using that with each other? How about we start using that for bringing some peace, for setting down the armor. Speaking of armor, my web designer the other day said something to me about, well, Lesley, do you see yourself as a warrior? Have you ever imagined that you might be a warrior? I had to laugh. I said, well, only since I was about 2. It's just who I am. When I speak to women about calling up their warrior selves, oftentimes I hear, I don't want to be aggressive. I don't want to be hostile. Well, here's the thing. That's not how women warrior. Oh, we can. And when we do, the other side's in a lot of trouble. But women use their empathy, use their natural bonding skills, use their ability to see beneath the surface more easily. That's our warrior superpower. Are you a warrior? Please send me a little note in the comments. Even if you're not, even if you want to tell me that I'm just full of it, send me a little note. I'd like to hear where all of you stand with this. This is the time of the woman. And I agree with the Dalai Lama. I agree that the world, he says the world will be saved by the Western women. I believe the world can be. I believe in us that much. I have since I was a kid and hitchhiked to New York. I've always believed in this. And I want us to start believing in each other a little bit more than we have. Because as we do, we're going to naturally move into alliance. Now, I feel very privileged personally, because being at the younger end of the boomer generation, as myself and several other boomers have had conversations, we're the first generation of women to stick around long enough in terms of age, in terms of viability, in terms of financial balance, to be able to stick around long enough to see the next step in the big dream we had when we were young. When we were young, we managed to take this world from the black and white flatness of Leave It to Beaver and Make Room for Daddy into a full color spectrum birthing of the hippie generation, the psychedelic nation. And then we all went out and lived our lives. And now we get to come back together. And one of the things I'm very excited about myself is all the millennials and Gen Zs I'm getting to speak with. They're already there. They get it. They understand equality. They understand equity. The one thing I notice that they are consistently not understanding, but open to understanding, is how far we did bring women. There are quite a number of them I've encountered that think that we just kind of coasted along. Well, of course they think that. That's all they've seen since they've been on the planet, because we were in our going out and living our lives phase. But when I help them understand that in 1970, they wouldn't have been able to get a credit card without a man's co-signing, and many, many other details that we fought for and won, they are thrilled to know this. And they are eager to be in alliance with us and continue to move women forward. All that young energy, I got to tell you, women, I love it. It infuses me as much as I infuse them, maybe even more. Alliance. Elanya Van Zandt, famous writer, oh, how I respect her, says the best way to achieve success is to take someone with you. Now, I don't apply that just to business. Every area of life, the best way to achieve success is to take someone with us. So often I hear, I bet you do too, women say, but I'm just one person. Sure, we all are. We all are. None of us can lift the entire world up on our own shoulders. But every one of us can lift one with us as we go. Who are you going to lift? And I will tell you from my experience, it's transitionary. You know, this one for a while, that one for a while. Even for me, this one lifted me on their shoulders for a while. Then that one lifted me on their shoulders for a while. And in that way, we all expand. You know, there's an old African proverb that says, women hold up half the sky. I always think that that must have been written by a man, because women hold up way more than their share of the half of the sky. If we can lift up half the sky, if women can hold half the sky, what might we do right here down on the earth with each other? Now, I really did come on to share these little pieces of insight to my thoughts and my story. But most of all, I decided to do this because I sincerely want to initiate a conversation, a bigger, broader conversation. You don't have to agree with me on a single word I said, but comment anyway. Let's start a conversation. Will you start a conversation with me? Because I'll be glad to continue that conversation with you. So thanks for listening to me ramble, and I hope I gave you something of value, something to think about that maybe you hadn't seen in quite the same way prior to today. As you go forward, please remember, you are stronger and wiser than you know.
Thanks for tuning in, everyone. We hope you received inspiration for expanding your own social innovation and influence. Help us inspire others by sharing this episode and leaving your comments over at lesliemichaels.com/podcast. For more tips, insights, and support in creating a fully audacious, professional, and personal lifestyle you love, visit our Women We Should Know community on Facebook.